come Seabass!
Hey, motherfucker!
Do you ever fantasize about being killed?
If they ever ask about me, tell them I was more than just a great set of boobs. I was also an incredible pair of legs.
They brought their fucking toys with them!
And now here he is, the man you just love to hate.
That's trash! I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as bad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to And Now for Something Different. I am Nathan Kennedy, and joining me tonight, we have Tyler Baker. The Rotten Amato is here, rocking the Jason mask, and the Doctor, Deuce Mitrovich, in the house. Of course, Rebecca had a convention this week. Ren is still on vacation. We expect him back next week, possibly. We'll see how that turns out. But tonight, I checked because we had a couple people in the Facebook group, or I think it was just Lacey Dean in particular, because we're going to watch an episode of G.I. Joe together tonight. Link is in the description down below. This is, as Deucen said, this is, it's a original master rip.
Original broadcast master.
There we go. And this aired on Toonami. So we're getting the Cartoon Network rip of this. Commercials intact as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to check that out. But I looked into it. And the last time, because we did it for the first time with Joe here, because he's a good sport about it. And he's like, I will finally give this a chance. October 2022. That's when we watched that other. I was like, it didn't feel like it was that long ago, but it's almost been 2 years since we watched G.I. Joe together. So
2 years? That doesn't sound right.
I looked
That's what happens when Joe doesn't want to talk about G.I. Joe. So
that just
Joe, it's August. Like... It's already August of 2024.
Yeah.
It's
almost 2025.
No, I mean, I still felt like it was earlier than that, but it's weird you mentioned that. This time last year, we were at PowerCon all together right around this time, same time.
Yeah.
That was
and now that's ancient history.
Yeah. And then that'll turn into like, oh man, that, because I guess it's still in the still up in the air, right? If this is going to be PowerCon next year,
there
should be.
That was all it was said. Plus, all I remember is that Val wanted to take a year off, and who can blame after having to organize all that stuff and giving time to get the vendors to get their exclusives all set up and all that stuff too. So
keeping Joe away from the food.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Who would have known that those?
They'll hand out vouchers to, that way you can get food only with a voucher only. And
it's just Joe's the only one. Joe's the only one that gets the voucher treatment. It's like, all right, Joe, here's this. You can only use this on this day for this item. That's
and
all
your
you
name
can do.
is on here. This is your handwriting. You can't go and steal one from people at your table or some poor schmuck that you just pocketed it.
Because I would have tried that.
Joe just shows up with a different mask. One with a paper bag, one with the Jason mask, one with the Modulot mask.
Do that trick or treating.
Yeah.
But real quick, it has really been that long since G.I. Joe. That does not sound right.
No, because I was looking at it, I'm like, yeah. So the first time we did it, I titled it Yo Joe with Joe because we wanted to do it that, and I looked it up, October 2022. So I know it really doesn't.
We
feel
were talking about. I mean, the episode I remember, I think the last time was, I thought they were escaping from some kind of base. I'm sorry if my memory's terrible, but
oh, you're fine.
I felt like it was recent. It doesn't seem like 2 years ago.
I just looked it up on our channel, and that was.
But what was the episode we talked about? Because then you would know.
Skeletons in the closet.
Okay, and is that one where they were at some kind of base? And
no,
it
took place in Scotland. They leave the city, and Lady J goes to Scotland because she's been in. She's got like an ancestor, and it's pretty much a plot.
The episode with the Destro's cult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold on, I apologize for that. I had to get a fucking call during this, and I think it took me off of. Am I echoing or something?
No,
No, but your audio is different.
it's different.
Yeah, it's fuck. God damn it! Why do people call? They know I do this fucking podcast every Sunday. Sorry, I ain't mad. It's just, Jesus Christ! I do this every fucking Sunday. Now let's call
Joe
Joe
and his dial up.
I don't know what to do now. How do I get this fucking?
Just go back and come back in.
God, motherfucker.
I don't know why.
I'll get your money next Tuesday.
Someone already harassing them about the food vouchers, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been that long since we talked G.I. Joe.
I thought we had talked about the Fun House. I thought at some point, and then maybe I'm thinking like we did a G.I. Joe commentary that would just mean Nathan back in the day.
That must have been on the other channel.
That was Beyond Retro, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to do so much more. I wanted to, obviously talk comic books and more of the animated series. Love to do like a tier list of like the card art for like a particular year. Like what we've done with He-Man. God, there's a shit ton of awesome, even for waves that suck, of G.I. Joe. At least the card art a lot of times was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Box art for a lot of the vehicles and play sets, man. So it's
Yeah,
so
that would
much
be good.
potential to do more G.I. Joe discussions, and
Absolutely.
no one has to be like a hardcore like I know anything and everything. It's just
Absolutely.
look at the cool visuals, man.
Yeah, Joe.
Do I
Joe.
sound okay? Does it sound?
Oh
better
yeah,
now?
no, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
But no, Tyler, that would be a good idea because we've done it with Master Universe and
Yeah.
doing the card art and everything. G.I. Joe would be a good way to follow suit as well.
I'm gonna get my air cooler in here. I'll be right back because I got all fucking worked up.
This podcast is over. He's blaming it on the air conditioning. When he gets pissed off, that's when he blames it on the air conditioning. I'm just too hot, guys. I gotta get out of here.
All because somebody called. Like it's fine. It's fine. I don't understand.
There's too much heat on him.
And now Tyler's getting pissed off.
No,
Look at him all red.
No, that's me this week. I'm the
Yeah.
red-faced one from all the sun that I got. But Joe, go ahead. Or do we want to pass it along to Deucen and let him read?
Yeah.
All right,
Joe needs
Deucen,
to
we'll
check
pass
the
it on to you and
decompress.
let
That's
you
what-
read
yeah.
all the people that are joining us here live.
So we have Will Timpson from Ireland, Zentron, Rebel Wookie, Jamie Mars.
Jaime Mares.
What?
What?
Jaime Mares.
What kind of a name is that?
Well,
God, he just
it's a
told my chat.
variation of the same name, Deuce, and it's like it's you're on the right track. It's just
Eric
pronounced differently.
Sanchez, Rebel Wookie, Chris Carter. On there, stop laughing, you Italian schmuck. Lord Sobek, Restitutor,
Restitutor?
whatever.
What did you fucking say?
Lord
We-
Sobek Restitutor? Is that what he said?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
it
how
says so there.
that's how it's. He's reading the
Oh,
entire
okay.
thing. We usually just say Lord Sobek, but he's gonna take it upon
I thought
himself.
you guys just said Sobek.
Johnny Fallick.
You got to pass that to Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan,
No,
read it.
Wait, no, he said Johnny.
Johnny
said,
He
Fallick.
said Johnny
so-
Fallick. He was playing the word on top.
That's Deucen's interpretation.
Is,
Of
is,
something
is,
saying.
is Johnny here? Oh yeah, I guess he is. Yeah,
Yeah,
Johnny
he is.
Cock. All right,
All
go
right,
ahead.
keep going.
And there's Papa Huds 69, John Ballard,
Is it Papa Hut? Papa
Kawak Staff,
Papa Huds.
Fabmon, Brian Clifton, and Felipe Terrazas. Oh, and GSP.
Oh, JSP. Did you get JSP? All right.
Yeah,
just to
make
make
sure you get JSP, right?
Good job,
Yes.
Deucen. Good job.
Hey, round of applause.
Yay!
I guess next week we'll let Joe do it. I think we'll alternate weeks or something, or do it once a month, or maybe we can make it like a Patreon exclusive. Just like have Deucen read your name.
Dude should do it.
Or maybe the two of us could race to read the names.
Oh, that would be
He
the
reads
best.
one, I read another.
Well, we could do that. Yeah, you guys could just alternate. That'd be pretty good. It'll keep Joe from getting lost as he could follow along and be ready for the next.
And
He's
especially
supposed to
getting
follow along as he
overheated.
reads it anyway, but you know.
Sometimes it just goes too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there we go. Something that we did want to talk about before we started watching this together. Joe, you weren't here for this yet, but we went ahead and watched it beforehand. There was something that Deucin had stumbled upon and posted it, but we couldn't watch it because for once it was region locked on our end of things. But essentially, what we got was the unaltered, well, like the what.
Original
Deleted
death
all
scene
audio.
You can one of you say it.
The original death scene of Duke in the G.I. Joe movie, where he actually does die, and there's no ADR put in post that says he's in a coma and that Duke made it. Duke's gonna be all right, you know. No, this time he's fucking dead. The way it should have been, all together.
Why do you hate the Duke so much?
It's not that I hate Duke, but I
But
feel
you
like
just said you want him dead. He should be dead.
Because-
Fuck
because
Duke.
yeah, well, because Flint's better anyway. But it left a major significance that was just like taken away, because originally in the movie too, Falcon was going to be the son of Hawk, which makes more sense. They look more like anyway. And now to say that Falcon and Duke are half brothers, like whatever. But it would have made sense that, you know, Duke being like the one guy. It's like, look, let's not. You know, there's always a Joe worth saving. Let's not kick him out. Let's find a way to salvage this guy who keeps fucking up. And the one guy that was standing up for Falcon dies. So it would encourage Falcon's character, like, all right, I got to stop fucking up. I got to take this shit more seriously. The only person who supported me and thought and believed in me is dead because of me. Like, I half brother, I'm like, I just feel like there's so much more to be had with this, with like Duke's presence being the one guy that would have stood up for to Duke, because that's what happens in the movie when he gets court-martialed and they're ready to punish him, and Duke's like, you know, look, you know, he's worth saving. Let's not kick him out, you know. And Falcon gets pissed off about it because he's his brother. And I'm like, I think we could do better than this.
So not only did we get that, but we also had the dialogue from the funeral scene, which was never fully animated, or it wasn't animated at all.
Allegedly.
And that was cool to
yeah,
just see that screenshot and then hear the dialogue there. So that was a lot of fun. Little 5-minute clip. But it brought about, we started talking about how when Tyler and I would watch this show, that Duke wasn't one of our favorite. We were more about the side characters, or like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. So it brought, there were some things that Tyler wanted to discuss, but we refrained. It was like, well, let's just save it for
I
the
think
show.
that's kind of what I was alluding to, is that I really felt like, because that was the plan, that Duke was not going to be related to Falcon at all. He was going to be Hawk's son, which would mean more that the guy that's running G.I. Joe's son keeps fucking up and allowed Cobra and Serpentor, to get out and take the broadcast energy transmitter, just really, just embarrass the guy that's running the whole organization. And Duke's the only guy that's let's try and salvage this guy. And then for him to die, like, would mean more of a significance, I think, for Falcon.
But as it came to be, it is more or less that this stems from Optimus, and that whole ordeal is why there's that huge change.
Well, what's weird too is that, outside of like repaints, Duke wasn't like, even in the comic books, Duke was not like a super prominent, like Hawk, who looks exactly like Duke in the comic books, was still running things, and they're around, but he wasn't the most prominent. Hell, Snake Eyes was the most prominent character in the comic books, and that goes through damn near the entire run. Duke's presence was more prominent in the cartoon, but even in the toy line, it wasn't like you're getting a new Duke figure every year. He only had the original Tiger Force, and then he had 2 variants in the 90s.
Yeah,
that was about it. So I never got the vibe that he was on level of Optimus Prime, where any kid that saw this movie would freak out. I'm not going to school the next day, or cancel Christmas. They killed Duke. I find it hard to believe that.
I wish they would have went through with it.
Me
too. Sure, you already had Optimus, but as he had stated in the interview, like there's a difference there between the Optimus is a robot and this is a person killed in combat. It kind of resonates on a different level.
And I think about too, and Deuce can verify this. Optimus Prime is torn to pieces multiple times in the animated series. Anyway. I mean, he's taken apart.
He was literally blasted.
Yes,
when they were fixing him in Divide and Conquer.
In City of Steel, he's torn apart and turned into an alligator. He's no longer there. Like his head's torn off. And I don't see any kids crying about that.
Yeah, but they fixed him.
Like Deucen said, he's fucking dead in that.
But they fixed him.
Yes.
Although the funny thing is that Divide and Conquer in Japan is kind of a meme because when Optimus Prime gets blasted by Laserbeak, the Japanese voice actor lets out a massive agonizing scream, and for some reason Japanese fans are laughing hysterically at that.
It's different over there, man.
Yeah, because in the original, you don't hear Optimus Prime saying anything, but
no, he doesn't say.
Over there, he was like, ah.
Joe, did you, when it came to Transformers, because obviously we know G.I. Joe was something that was Transformers a little more.
Okay. I watched Transformers. I, of course, can't retain everything that I seen back then. But no, I watched Transformers. I love Transformers. So yeah, I did.
Did you have any toys?
One, I just had Jazz. It was the only one because growing up.
Man, that's so fucking
and
cool.
You no longer have him, right?
No, because well, like I said, growing up, there was only one main toy line, I could collect because we couldn't afford everything. But I did get at least one Transformer. I got Jazz, and I had a couple Sectars, Thundercats. But when I moved from my childhood home to the other place before here, it was too small. I couldn't take all that stuff. I was like, the only thing I could take with me was all my He-Man stuff. So I remember having a porch sale, selling all the other stuff. And I wish I didn't, but I had to.
How much does a retro Jazz go for these days?
A complete Jazz. Yeah.
There are Chinese knockoffs that look basically identical to the original version. So you'll find loads of those on eBay.
Oh, and there's ones that are missing this, missing that. This part's broken.
Yeah, but these are complete and come with stickers and everything. Like it's pretty much one-to-one copy of the original. I myself have the Encore version for that's official from Japan, and that one is fantastic. But unfortunately, it's hard to find these days.
Of Jazz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Meister, as he's called in Japan.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It's like kind of mid-level. I don't know. Well, we'll have to someone send Joe their childhood Jazz.
That'd be something. But
yes, next week he finds a bunch of Jazzes delivered to his doorstep. Like, here you go, straight from China, and another from China. Enjoy.
Could you imagine that?
Oh man, I really want to just. I really want to piss Tyler off and just mention on air about what a piece of shit Somewhere in Time is.
Fuck you.
That movie's what a piece of crap.
Oh, yours I'm sorry, Jeff Daniels' ass. That one shot was better than the entire fucking movie, man. It was just, wasn't funny at all. He didn't cry and I didn't laugh. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, Somewhere in Time. God.
They call me Dolomite. What? That's not fucking funny at all.
Yeah,
I thought we were going to be polite about this, and he starts ditching. I was like, right, fuck that movie. It wasn't funny at all. It was an embarrassment for Eddie Murphy and everyone else in it.
Wait, what's this? A penny? No.
I'd rather watch fucking Haunted Mansion.
Oh man! So now Somewhere in Time, it's used for a thing. We joke about it with Emily this weekend. It's like, hey. Let's just watch Somewhere in Time again. She's like, God, please no. That movie sucked.
Either one of you. I don't want to know either one of you.
I don't want to spend too much more time on this.
Fucking sit there and say fucking Romeo and Juliet is so
yeah.
good,
Tyler says that
piece of shit.
Somewhere in Time is like the greatest romantic movie ever made. It's one of the worst fucking things I've watched. Probably, I would watch Halloween Kills again before I would watch Somewhere in Time. That's how big
now
a
he's just
piece
trying
of
to be an
shit that
asshole
was.
now. There's no fucking way he's going to watch Halloween Kills again over Somewhere in Time.
What year is this movie from?
1980. It's got so it's got Christopher Reeve in it, right? And he's like this playwright and everything, and it begins in 1976. He's in college, and he's standing there, and all of his friends are sucking his ass. It's like, oh, that play was great. It's gonna be on Broadway. And then this old lady walks up and hands him this watch, and she's like, "Come back to me." And he's like, "What the fuck is this?" Right? So he goes, what? It's like 6-7 years later.
8 years. 8 years later.
And falls off a horse.
The hotel in this movie, fucking beautiful, by the way. But he goes there and he's I'm back in town, and then like the old guy that's like bringing his bags, like, yeah, them college kids like to come back and reminisce about when they'd party and blah blah blah. It's like, all right, well, whatever, old man. And then he walks by. There's like a museum in the hotel that's talking about the past of the history of the hotel. And he walks past this portrait of this woman, and he's fixated. He stands there forever, and he's staring at it, and he's looking at it, and this watch, and he talks to who is this guy? Is he a scientist? What does he do? He hypnotizes.
He's a professor. Yeah,
he's a professor.
He's leaving out so much shit right now, but he's just doing it to piss me off.
I could tell Tyler's letting him just go ahead and
I'm just
do his
letting him
thing.
do it because
it turns out
he's pulling up a soft serve Ren shit right now.
So it turns out that you can, if you're hypnotized, you can time travel potentially. See, exactly.
I'm sorry, but
my
the
thoughts
logic
exactly.
is so skewed in any other time travel movie.
So then,
whatever.
So then, Christopher Reeve, he starts recording himself. He's like, August 10th, 1940, fucking whatever, 1910 or whatever fucking time he's going back
1944.
And he keeps repeating it. He keeps repeating it, and then he plays it back to himself, and he gets like this fucking dapper hat and clothes from the time, and he lays in the bed because there's a significance to this hotel room. These things, like, I feel like I've been here before, kind of shit. So then he plays
That's
this.
not because.
And then he goes back in time, and it turns out that old man that he was talking to was a little kid, and it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So then he meets the woman that he saw in the portrait, right? They spend one fucking day together in a montage, more or less, by the way. And then there's like this other guy that's involved that's like kind of jellies, but doesn't really put up much of a fight. You're supposed to buy that they're in love or whatever, right? So they have the montage and they have like their picnic and shit. And it's like, I love you. And then like he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a penny, and the penny's from 1976. And that like alters his hypnotic state. So it's a really funny thing. He sees it and he's like, no. And then she like fades into like darkness. And it turns out that he had been hypnotized for like a fucking week and like almost died. It's such a piece of shit.
He's leaving out so much shit here.
It's such a piece of shit.
Everyone who just listen to him right now, try and just go back in time and forget that he said this. That was the most fucked up, uninspired description of the movie. Even if he didn't like it, he's leaving out
an important question.
I'm not done talking here, Deucin.
Yeah, but it's a really important question.
Let him defend it. Let him defend this piece of crap. Go ahead.
I don't need to defend it because it speaks for itself. I'm just telling you that if Nathan doesn't like it, that's fine. I told him they all can be winners, period. But he's leaving out details that make no sense to what he's just telling you. Like what he just told you makes no sense because he's leaving out chunks of important details.
Like, for example, did when he was on the bed, hypnotized for a week, did he piss and shit on the bed?
I mean, probably.
That was a deleted scene, Deucin.
What detail? What major detail am I leaving out that way?
It's not about hypnotizing. It's more about that. That's the concept of traveling through time. That you have to completely remove yourself from modern day. You cannot have anything that reminds you of modern day technology, the view, the clothing, everything. Like the way the professor, look, all time travel stories, even Back to the Future, it's all made up bullshit. It's just you have to choose whether to believe it or not. So I'm saying, like, yeah, anytime you could pick this apart and you could pick apart Back to the Future, any of the other time travel movies. You got to depend on, at least with this, because I feel like with a lot of time travel movies, they're telling you you can't talk or touch anything. You will fuck up everything. And getting Back to the Future, all Marty fucks up is possibly fucking his mother. All the other interactions, like you can't do anything, you can't touch anything, you can't talk to anybody. You will fuck up the future having any interactions. But in that movie, it's just don't fuck your mother. Pretty much.
Yeah, but at least there was a car to go back in time.
He inspired the mayor, the guy that became the mayor, to become the mayor, and he made a bunch of changes, like Twin Pines became One Pine.
What they're telling you not to do, what he did do, turned out to be very positive because this is a positive movie. So
also, Doc Brown didn't hypnotize him to travel through time, so he didn't get to sit on a couch
Get him out of here.
for 50 years.
Me and Joe, we'll go back to you and me. We're going old school tonight. Get these
Marty didn't go like, Doc, it worked. I had to sit on this couch for 50 years, but it worked. I'm back in 1985.
Shut him up so I can explain myself here.
I will say this. So yes, did I skim through it? Yes, but
there's important chunks that he left. That you're making it sound as if like
I was with it. But you're supposed to buy that this big. Oh my god! Like they must have been so in love, and all it was like a montage in a day, and they had no chemistry on the screen.
He's ignoring exactly. Plus, they had an affair during making this movie too. So what you saw on screen was fucking legitimate. He's leaving out also that he has no idea who this woman who gives him this watch when he's in college, and he forgets all about it. Then he goes and stays at this hotel at random, wanders around because he's waiting to eat, and comes across this picture and is smitten, which is how the story was inspired. The guy who wrote this story, like, saw this portrait of this old actress and thought she was absolutely breathtaking and just got really fixated on her. It's like,
what I said?
I'm not done talking yet. I haven't gotten to the point that you left out.
Oh, okay.
Is that when he finds out, like, he's inquisitive. Like, there's no nameplate on this portrait, so the groundskeeper tells him who it is. And he goes and looks her up because he wants to know more about her. And when he looks her up and sees the last picture that's taken her was the old lady that gave him the pocket watch. And he just becomes fixated that this woman somehow knows him somehow. And the woman that I'm fixated on this picture is the old lady that gave him this pocket watch. How the hell does this work? So he wants to find out more about her. He reads everything he can find about her and then tracks down the lady who wrote the most recent book, or like a story about her life. She used to, help take care of her at her. You see her at the beginning of the movie, and he starts seeing all these details that this woman, this old lady, knows his favorite piece of classical music. All these other details that she was reading a book about time travel by a professor he had in college, and he's like, "Oh my god! Like this woman is reading about time travel, and that she read it multiple times apparently." And it was from a professor that I had in college. He goes and tracks down his professor in college. And he's like, is this even possible? And the professor's like, I don't know. I've never officially gone through it all the way. I've been too afraid to. And tells him the whole process. Don't know if it'll work or not.
That guy sounds like a quack. Really? Like, it's like real life quacks that come up with all kinds of theory.
Why bother? You know what? I don't give a fuck. You cannot take this away from me. You go back and watch your fucking Dolomite and laugh till your ass falls off.
But Tyler, there's also one more thing. This movie is basically a copy of Twilight Zone pilot.
I don't give a fuck what a copy is. I thought it was a great
story.
So
with Tyler saying those details about how obsessed he is with her, and then you go and you see it, and it's a montage for a day, and they barely fucking do anything, and then he looks at his penny and goes back. You tell me if you're like, oh, this is the greatest love story ever made. I don't think so.
Did she suck his penny?
What does that mean?
Why a penny? What are they insinuating?
It's insinuating.
I just
this movie is weird, man. Deal with it.
Explain this anymore. I fucking like it. You guys don't. Well, Jason hasn't even seen it, so whatever.
I just had to poke the bear. I never get to do that often. I wanted to do it.
I don't give a fuck. Like when he told me he
Hey,
didn't
Tyler.
like it, before I saw it, I was like, okay, he didn't like it. I don't give a shit,
No,
So,
real quick, Tyler. I seen that movie, I think 2 times when I was a kid, and no. My mom loved that movie, and I watched it, and the reason I could never watch it again is I remember she would cry every time she watched it, and it broke my heart, so I couldn't watch that movie anymore. So that was one of her favorite movies, was Somewhere in Time. She really
Well-
loved that movie.
she had good taste,
Well,
man.
well, thanks, John. Now me and Nathan are jerks.
No.
I'm still- maybe she
Hey.
was crying because it was so bad.
No. She, it's a love story. And when I'd see her cry, it just ripped my heart to pieces. So I was like, I can't watch this movie ever again.
I
So
had to
that's
do it.
weird.
I haven't done anything like that in a while, so I had to do it.
I don't give. Honestly, it doesn't bother me that people don't like it. Deuce could go home or go home. He could get off here tonight, go watch it, and say, Tyler, how the fuck you like this movie, eh? I don't care. I fucking love it. I thought Nathan would enjoy
You
it.
would like the Twilight Zone pilot a lot better.
I'm sure it's good, but I like Christopher Reeve's performance in it. Jane Seymour's hot in it, and I honestly like going through like breakups and lost, loves and stuff like that. Nathan thought was shit, but I thought the way Chris sells it, when you get punched in the stomach, when you lose someone you care about, and you just feel like you're going to throw up and you have no appetite, I thought Chris sold that immensely. I thought that was like very relatable. That anybody who's had someone dump you, or you lost them, or you've lost someone altogether, you're just like, you're gonna fall apart. And I thought he did a great job of like going into madness as Nathan's laughing at me as I'm pouring my heart out here.
I think that
Nathan's
was
like,
probably just dehydration because he didn't eat for a week.
well, that of course, that's why he dies. So
Anyway,
sorry, spoil it. Since Nathan wanted to spoil everything else for everybody out there.
I mean, it's a fucking almost 50-year-old movie.
Well, I mean,
it'll
yeah,
be all right.
but hell, I didn't know how it ended until I watched it. So
No, I honestly, I walked away from it just disappointed in the fact that, like, because Ty and I are typically on the same wavelength of he recommends something 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna enjoy it. But yeah, that was just the one.
Yeah, you both like nothing but trouble. For shame.
See, there we go.
I was going, what the fuck does Deucin know then? So. But then again, too, Deucin decided with me, like he thinks Jaws of Revenge is a fun film, you know. So does Nathan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
that would
so
be something where Joe would be like, "Oh, that's a piece of shit." So yeah,
but Joe was a big advocate of the Burbs. To me, like anyone who's a big fan of the Burbs, it's like it's a secret handshake. It's like, oh my god, you don't even have to talk about the movie because you know that person knows how fucking funny and quotable the movie is, you know. But people who don't like Somewhere in Time, you ain't gonna fucking heart.
Oh boy,
you're a human tree stump, both of you.
Get to some fun. Let's get to a
let's move on to something that we all enjoy.
Questions,
here.
You know me, I'm new to the stuff, so there'll be parts where I ask questions. I already have.
And please, Joe, feel free to ask us anything about.
I will.
This episode.
There's a particular couple. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys have it all loaded up, and you at home have clicked the link in the description below, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and do that now. Pause the video if you're watching it after the fact. Get it loaded up and watch along with us. And Tyler will give you the countdown, and we'll get going.
As long as I don't flip this over and just don't come back. The podcast is over right now.
I was hoping we were gonna have a Seagal moment there. But...
I don't know why I would blame it. I'll be like, I'm blaming it on the air. The air's not working in here. I'm out of here.
And you know what? For as much shit as I talked about that, maybe down the road, I'll give it a revisit and see if anything changes.
But I get it. Like, look, all of us have recommended movies to each other. People have recommended movies to us. You know, it ain't going to work every time. But I think over the years, we ought to kind of know. Like, I'd say Deuce was probably the wild card on this podcast. I figure anything we recommend, he's just going to hate it because I don't know if it's his programming or he is clearly
his programming.
Yeah, you know. But like Return of the Swamp Thing, I thought he was going to spend the entire like him and Rand, give me the hot tag. I'm gonna shit on this movie too. And Deuce fucking loved it.
Yeah.
You know, like he got it, he understood it, and I feel like because it's a movie that is highly dismissed and forgotten, that most people who just I remember that lame ass Swamp Thing movie came out in '89. Yeah, it's pretty lame and no special effects and cheap and blah blah. Fuck you. but Deucin got it. Nathan got it.
Yeah.
Everyone got it, and that's just one of those things that you don't know how people are going to take a lot of this stuff, but you only reckon because you think they may like this. God knows there's been plenty of movies that I liked and Nathan thought I was going to hate.
Yeah, that's true too. I would say, hey, I watched this. I don't know if you're gonna like it, but maybe check it out. And he watches it and fucking loves it. I'm like, wow, it surprised the hell out of me. Just like were you surprised when I sent you that was Somewhere in Time? You're like, oh man, he didn't like it. Like,
no, I was. It wasn't one of those things where I was like, well, he just didn't like it. And he thought it was ass. So I'm like, it was the first thing I saw when I woke up. I'm like, oh well.
Yeah, no,
sleep.
Well, I was like, no, I'm going to get up and go work out. So,
yeah,
it wasn't like,
I just wanted to talk about it because when you and I done our shows, we mentioned it briefly, like, hey, I'm going to check this out. I just wanted to bring it up.
It had like much like what Joe's that movie just had an impact on me. Like,
yeah,
like I said, I don't give a shit about love stories because most of them are just they're poorly written. You don't buy any of it. But I really like Christopher Reeve's performance in it. I just thought he did such a great job. And I get why Nathan doesn't like it. I get what he's pointing out. Deuce not so much because it's programmed weird. But obviously
I prefer Twilight Zone.
Huh?
I prefer Twilight Zone.
Well, hey, Twilight Zone has a lot of good stories. So
yes, I'm gonna try to find the link for the pilot and send it to you.
Okay. I'll watch it.
Are you going to watch Somewhere in Time then, Dushin?
Sometime,
well,
maybe.
If you want him to watch, if you want to watch Twilight Zone, then you got to watch Somewhere in Time. You got to keep it there.
Okay, Joe. If I have to watch Somewhere in Time, then you have to watch. Let me check the title of
Nothing
movie.
But Trouble. He's got to watch Nothing But Trouble.
Yeah, but Joe likes Nothing But Trouble.
I know. I'm just trying to.
Oh, what's
but
the
Deuce, I'm
name
saying
of
that's
the
between
movie?
you and Tyler right now with the.
Yeah. Wait. No, shush.
Deuce and Joe's got a point. This is between you and
Joe.
I. It's not really,
Yeah, but since he's butting in, so he has to watch a movie called. He has to watch a movie called Time After Time from 1979.
So another time movie made around the same time
frame.
A lot of Okay.
It stars David Warner.
Okay.
I like David Warner.
H.G. Wells pursues Jack the Ripper to the 20th century when the
I've heard of that movie.
Serial murderer uses the future writer's time machine to escape his time period. That actually sounds interesting.
I remember hearing about that.
And I'll get you
it's
something
probably
to watch,
way
Dushin.
better than this one.
I'll get you something to watch too, Dushin, but I'll watch it. You give me a link.
No, you already told me to watch Somewhere in Time.
What? No,
that was Tyler.
Works. Yeah, that's Tyler. That's how it works.
You agreed with him, so that you wasted your vote.
I like the Twilight Zone. So I got no problem sitting down and watching it.
Twilight Zone's good
to watch that.
Yeah, damn, it's not streaming anywhere. I'll have to.
Gotta wait till
Sci-Fi Channel does their Let's get some
New Year's Eve marathon.
All right, Tyler, go ahead and give us a countdown. We'll watch
I
some
hope everyone
G.I. Joe.
enjoyed our
I'm gonna watch that stupid cartoon.
Oh boy, I'm eager to answer Joe's questions and just have some good, wholesome G.I. Joe discussions here, man.
Yeah, like our trivia right away.
Oh boy.
All right.
3, 2, 1, action.
Get the old.
You might be wondering.
I wasn't, but go ahead.
What happened? Dushin, we can't hear you.
Dushin sounds off. Oh, thank God.
Did you get disconnected?
No. I'm just sorting something. So you might be wondering why this has a mass device intro. That's because after the Revenge of Cobra, they went back to this intro. This episode was actually made before Pyramid of Darkness 5-parter. Because
I did not know that.
Yeah, because that's why there's a batch of episodes that have a tone that's much closer to the mini-series episodes than the rest of the season 1. So this is actually episode 6, whilst Pyramid of Darkness part 1 is episode 37 of the season. But for whatever reason, Pyramid of Darkness always is placed to be opening for the season.
Why is
So
there?
So that's why I also don't get the music that's later composed that you hear after the 2 miniseries. Also, just now you heard a cue from Transformers.
So with this being the broadcast master, is that why because in the, if I'm not mistaken, the DVD release and then even the one that's the Hasbro upload on YouTube, those have the title card, whereas this one does not. Why? When does all that stuff change around here?
Those seem to have been added retroactively.
Okay, because this is the title card. It's written by Paul Dini.
Yeah.
That we have there. So
it's in with Transformers first batch of season 2 episodes. Originally, they didn't have the title superimposed over the footage.
And before we get too far ahead into this, Tyler, you want to give us a quick synopsis of this episode, Jungle Trap?
If you're watching this for the first time, it's a classic jungle adventure. The Joes are being asked to escort a doctor who is, heavily sought after Cobra. And Cobra gets to him, and they wanted to put together this machine called the Vulcan machine, obviously Star Trek inspiration there, to help cause volcanic eruption anywhere on the planet as a threat from Cobra. So they try to figure out where he's at, and they go down in the jungle trying to find the Cobra base. So then it's this big trek through the jungle, going through Cobra traps and various wild animals that they run into in the jungle. So if you like Rambo or Predator or any other jungle movies, Romancing the Stone, this is why I like this episode so much.
So the Joes here have already failed in the mission of trying to protect this doctor and keep him away from Cobra.
By the way, when we saw Cobra Commander in his base, we heard another Transformers cue.
I can't because my sound's down, so we don't get.
I had a question. What episode is this, and what season, and everything?
It's a season 1.
Season 1. This is actually production code. It's episode 6.
Okay, I guess because for me, because I didn't watch G.I. Joe, I don't know much about it, but I noticed that Cobra Commander goes back and forth between the hood and helmet. Does he do this all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a
It's just like you.
He'll wear both in some episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, because all right, I didn't know if like
You guys got a lot in common, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is because my Modulac mask isn't. I got to make another.
Well, the hood mask is like it's more of a ceremonial, and like when he's just kind of being on the metal mask is his battle mask. But he's not wearing in battle all the time. You'll see him in Cobra headquarters, like wearing the metal mask too. So it just fluctuates, but that's what they're both considered: a battle mask and a ceremonial mask.
But there's a plot hole here. Zartan is out in the sun.
Can I ask you something? Because I was just going to ask you about that. I seen that Zartan earlier when he was, with the snake and stuff, and he pointed the Joes in a direction. His face looked different because he's like a chameleon, something or what?
Well, that's something
funny you should mention that because his preliminary name was Captain Chameleon.
Oh, really? Okay, because the thing that you just brought about the sun, that's what I was going to ask, is later on in this episode, there's something that happens with the ceiling and some light shows, and he turns blue, and he runs away in terror, but then in the next scene, he's running outside, and I was like, is he allergic to the sun or something?
It's something that was part of the concept of the toy, along with his brother and sister, which I'm glad they kind of debunked it when they came along. But his character, he's a master of camouflage and not once they camouflage like he puts on makeup, but he is a master of disguise. He can disguise himself, change his voice, everything. It's just one of his gifts that he's learned over the years as a mercenary, and it's unknown. Like even though his brother's sister,
this sunlight thing something that continues all through the series? Or
it's something that they eventually just kind of fade out. Even in the comic books,
it's implied that. It's kind of implied that he's a product of bioengineering, hence also the voice.
Yeah,
that has that effect.
But that was some of my main questions.
Yeah, it's a big headache because it's unnecessary to the character. Like I know they're trying to give him a weakness because someone who can manipulate his voice and dress like everybody and just
just causes problems for the writers.
Yeah, it's just something that was just. I'm glad they just got rid. Like in Revenge of Cobra, when the Dreadnoks first show up, they address that in like in like one of his opening scenes. But and it's so inconsistent, and eventually just kind of fades out.
Yeah.
Because the
Also-
toys, if you put the toys in the refrigerator, or out in the sun, excuse me, their skin would change color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and it's not even if they're in direct sunlight either, because I actually bought one, a Zartan on a vintage one on eBay, and he got warm enough in the package when it's sitting in the mailbox. When I pulled him out, he was blue, and I was like, okay,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Did they ever show Cobra Commander with his helmet or hood off in the cartoon?
No, but they do kind of in the comics.
In the comics, they do. He's
What's
very
he
much.
look like?
Also, when you look at whenever he wears a hood, you can see flash around his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not a snake.
The movie tries to retcon it, but it doesn't really fit because in another episode you also get to see his hands. So he's not a blue-skinned snake alien.
So,
all right, I was wondering.
So Joe, back when Tyler and I were collecting GI Joes, Hasbro came out with these 12-inch. They called them Hall of Fame line, and you had Destro, Cobra Commander, and Snake Eyes in there. But the gimmick is that you could take off Destro's mask and you could take off Cobra Commander's hood. And I'm like, oh, what are they going to look like? And it was very disappointing. They didn't do a good job with that. But one thing I want to make mention of, I think
they're all other than Destro, Snake Eyes and Cobra are wearing masks underneath their masks.
Yeah.
So Cobra Commander is human with a black kind of a crew cut, and Snake Eyes has got blonde hair, which that's in the comic books.
Right.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. One more question. Now, I noticed that
ask all you want, bud.
Now, when Cobra is getting hit all the time, they're parachuting out. Is there a reason the Joes didn't parachute out of those vehicles when they were struck down, or is that something exclusive to
plot?
Just like
it's plot driven, basically.
Okay. No,
when you see generic characters parachuting, it's purely to satisfy the censors.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only disappointing thing to me about this episode is just there at the beginning when the rest of Dreadnoks sort of get jobbed out in that little scene. But of course, Snake Eyes drops in, so kind of you're like, oh, well, holy shit, it's Snake Eyes. So I was like, all right, never mind then.
And is this Dr. Shakur? Is he somebody exclusive to this episode, or did he appear helping
Yeah,
just this one episode. And
also,
there's so many doctors that show up throughout the series. You know.
Yeah, there's
Dr.
a lot of
Lucifer
them.
and Cobra's creatures. You know, you've got all the doctors in the Funhouse episode. Just those are the first ones that come to mind.
Okay.
Also, another way to see that this actually predates Pyramid of Darkness is simply the way Cobra Commander is characterized. Because later he would have a more higher-pitched voice.
Yeah.
He would sound more like a season 2 Starscream. This is much more in line with the mini-series. And personally, I'll love this batch of episodes over the Pyramid of Darkness. Like, Pyramid of Darkness is honestly crap.
I'm not a fan of it either. I don't care for it. Revenge of Cobra is pretty good. I like it.
Yeah,
the
first two miniseries are awesome. Pyramid of Darkness was such a massive disappointment. So when you watch it per air dates, thankfully the episode that comes right after the Pyramid of Darkness is Countdown for Zartan, and that's another great episode.
Yeah. And this episode, and I was going to ask Nathan if he's glad he got Recondo after watching this episode, because this is not too many episodes you get to see any of the Joes really get to push their specialty. And Recondo is he's a jungle trooper, essentially. I mean, he is, you'll see him in Countdown for Zartan just there as part of the team going to help stop Zartan in the city. But this is a jungle-based episode, and it's fun to see it.
Feels organic to include him.
Absolutely, and it's fun to see a character whose sole purpose in the G.I. Joe mythology, this is his specialty. You got Dusty, who's a desert trooper. You got Barbecue, he's a firefighter for G.I. Joe. Everyone has their specialties, and not everyone gets to have an episode devoted to their specialty. And seeing Recondo being able to pick up on all these booby traps, how to deal with wild animals, like this, and seeing Snake Eyes like save rock and roll, just like
And
that.
I was like, I hope that they have the spikes at the bottom of this,
Yeah.
and there they are. I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah, it's fucking.
Why
so
did you
fucking
say that?
cool.
Were they not shown somewhere else? Or
No. I just in my mind, because when you think about G.I. Joe, you were mentioning before, when Cobra gets shot down, you see the parachutes. When they're firing their guns, it's lasers instead of bullets. So
right.
you kind of wonder what the boundaries are in terms of this, of what you can push in terms of showing the violence or impending doom, or any of the violence here. So
well, even right here, where Duke is like, well, it's either him or us, and he's ready to kill the Rhino. And we're kind of like, no, I got a better idea.
Yep.
You know, it's a great way
I'm gonna lure it to the cliff, and it'll drown. That's much better than shooting it with lasers.
Well, because there is this line of dialogue once the Rhino hits the water, and it's like, oh, that's how's it go? It's better than what I would have done, or something.
Yeah. It's a way of saying, without saying,
I'm glad I didn't have to stop him my way, is the line there.
Yeah.
And even though there are episodes that feature a lot of jungle stuff, this is the only episode where it is like the whole story is full on jungle. Like I wish we got more episodes like this. There's touches of it in other episodes.
I want to get Joe's opinion on this. Just seeing like the jungle action here, is this something you're kind of like, oh hell yeah, I'm really digging this as much.
Oh yeah. I like it. No, it's something that I would get into. Like I said, as a kid, I just for whatever reason, I didn't watch kind of military themed things. So whatever, and then just the shit at school. But otherwise, no, it's good. Like I said, when I watched the G.I. Joe, I do enjoy. Yeah.
Well, we did start off, Joe, on the highest note possible, having watched The Traitor, which is arguably the best episode of the series. But I would put this and Countdown for Zartan, and I still love the Funhouse. Like, it's a silly episode, but it's a lot of fun. It's just I don't know why. And Cobra Commander's character does evolve, and he is to be taken seriously, but he's funny, and not in a way that's off-putting, the way Skeletor would be in season 2 of He-Man. Like, Cobra Commander is a very likable asshole. Like,
it's a character that you love to hate, basically.
Yes, yeah, he did, and Chris Latta relishes it. And when him and Destro bicker, it's fun and enjoyable. People love to see Cobra Commander get pissed off. Like, even Zartan likes to take the piss out of Cobra Commander. People like to see him because he's so egotistical. He thinks he's right. He can do everything and still be victorious, and people love to see him fail.
And this block of Toonami, the version that we're watching here at home, and I don't want to spoil it too much with the commercials that are coming up, but this would have aired at about 12:30 at night. So that would have been awesome. Just you're staying up late on a Friday night or whenever. And
question, was anything since this obviously was rerun on Cartoon Network, I'm assuming years later, was anything different from this compared to the original thing that was like live that you've seen on TV when they showed it for the first time, or is all the animation, the scene still in there?
No, this is the proper version. What you see on the DVDs is often a work print that has animation that was yet to be fixed.
Oh, no kidding.
Unfortunately.
But scene-wise, we're seeing pretty much
Here we go.
thing.
Here's the commercials.
Oh, that godforsaken when they started doing CGI shit.
Yeah, because that was the same little bumpers that we had for He-Man.
Midnight Run.
Yep. So
my brother used to watch Ed and Eddie. I didn't like that show. And Courage the Cowardly Dog. He used to watch that too. I like Dexter. Dexter's Laboratory. I did enjoy that.
Never seen any of these things.
Yeah, this was like early 2000s, like heyday Cartoon
Network. You'll pin there are commercials here that'll pinpoint it to an exact year and period of time.
See a He-Man commercial somewhere.
No, but you get Spider-Man, the video game,
narrated by Jim Cummings.
God, I remember getting this game being just so disappointed because it was so easy to beat.
So we're looking at 2002 here.
Yeah.
At first, I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, this has got to be like a Capri Sun commercial or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
or is it Go-Gurt?
Yeah, no, it's just advertising a vehicle.
Oh.
The Honda Element.
Yeah. Hey, kids, get into my van.
Here's Thora Birch in a Eclipse strip commercial. Like, it's not gum; it's just that strip you peel off and put it on your tongue and it dissolves.
I guess
Yeah.
that's what happens after she played in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah. So we get another Eclipse commercial here.
I remember.
Yeah. This song's pretty good, even though most of you guys can hear it better. Oh yeah, look at a little early 2000s funkiness here.
The hell is this commercial for?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude's filling up a trash can full of water. Oh, it's a Tasmanian Devil PS2 game.
Oh yeah.
What?
I never even heard of this game.
What does that bucket that can of water have to do with it? What am I?
He's pulling a prank on the guy, so when the dude opens the door, the water spills out. This is like Mega Blocks for dragons. It's like a dragon
spun. Oh, never mind. I thought I was thinking of something else.
It's basically just like a different version of Legos, more or less. I mean, it's a cool commercial.
Yeah, like whilst they were still making the cool toy commercials.
Yeah.
Before they went all lazy with them.
Yeah.
And here you go. So it's Christmas time, Santa Claus 2. Hell yeah.
Man. I had to go see this piece of shit in theaters.
Yeah, so this has already been out, so it says #1 movie, so this is probably like November, December, so probably pre-Christmas maybe.
Yeah. Is this Treasure Planet?
Yeah, Treasure Planet.
Deucin loves this movie.
No, I hate it. I mean, I never even watched it, but
you said you
I
loved
found,
it.
I
You
found
want us all to watch it.
No, that was the Bulgarian version. Watch that.
Nah.
There you go.
I heard American.
Gundam at midnight, G.I. Joe 12:30, Toonami, The Midnight Run. So now we're gonna get back into the episode here.
God, I had no idea they played G.I. Joe this late back then.
Yeah, but just oddly nostalgic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would have known.
Yeah, because one of the biggest perks of Cartoon Network back in the 90s was that they played Thundercats and Transformers. And I of course, we didn't get Cartoon Network till much later when cable was offering it as part of the package. Look at Snake Eyes beating the shit out of these hyenas. So fucking cool.
Kicked it right in the face.
And it doesn't harm any of the hyenas. Just
She just knocked a few fangs.
And then Duke's like, yeah, normally I'd be pissed off about this, but
he knows better than to fucking question Snake Eyes.
Yeah. Gives him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I like that he doesn't talk. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's one of the
But
trademarks
he's
of the
mute.
character.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, no, he had a helicopter accident that pretty much fucked his face up and killed his vocal cords.
Oh, did they show that in the cartoon?
And no, in the comics.
Oh no shit. Ooh.
Yeah.
By the way, it feels like this bot driver was originally that he originally had a different design, because this voice that Frank Welker does, it doesn't
That's how
really
the toy
match.
looks. Though. That's how Copperhead looks, though. That's how the character is.
Yeah, but maybe maybe they didn't realize at first and made a complete different design, because again, it's like Frank Welker was looking at something entirely else.
But the character comes from the bayou.
No. It's like when you look at the character is all bulky, but he does this nasal punk voice.
Everything's a conspiracy with you, isn't it?
What's to stop? I mean, I know he's got a gun pointed at him, but what's to stop him? Is like, you know what? I'm not going to take him in the right direction, or I'm just going to try to overturn him off of this anyway.
Well, I'm sure his perspective, if you guys think you're going to pass yourselves off going to the Cobra base, fine, whatever. I don't think you guys are getting.
That's true, because maybe in his mind he's like, well, then I'm pretty much giving Cobra Commander what he wants, and then he'll look fondly upon me. Look what I did, kind of thing. So yeah.
And I love this vehicle, the water moccasin. That's something. The Cobra vehicles are always some of the best, I thought, because you can get really crazy with them and still look really cool. And I know we have people who watch this podcast too. I've heard people too. The further G.I. Joe got away from military, that's when people started jumping away from it. I get that, but I still felt like they honored a lot. Now the 90s had some fucked up shit. Even as a kid, I was like, I don't fucking like that. But I didn't think, they went too far with it up until like, maybe 93, 94, I thought. But
you just make up a disease and then it's like Deuce when it's like, get away from me.
Yeah.
Go away.
And I always loved that Cobra Commander always had various castles all over the planet. Like
he always has all these different bases, and it's just they all get destroyed.
I mean, it's all ancient ruins that
he's got
commandeered.
like the Silent Castle, which you see in the comic books, but he's also got various like these old Spanish castles all over the planet. And I just thought that was so cool. Even as a kid, I'm like, oh, he's got castles for bases, like, and they all look different.
He's like the Spirit Halloween of the 80s.
Just pops up all over the place.
Yeah. He's like, what's this? An abandoned building that's mine now.
Yep.
It is cool seeing all these characters in the Cobra garb to infiltrate the base.
So Zartan immediately going, hey, let's use the Doctor as a body shield. And then goes out like a pussy.
Well, and again, I've never been on, and I don't know if people when the toy first, because I wasn't aware of the whole like sunlight thing for years. I can't remember when I first found out about it, because it wasn't something that, and this was an episode I never saw in syndication as a kid. I never saw this episode air. It wasn't until the DVDs, because I never saw the VHS to rent either.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of any of the sunlight issues with Zartan. I just thought, because he was my brother's favorite character too, and we just thought, he's a mercenary. You can change just didn't have any kind of weaknesses like that.
Did they ever explain anywhere like what gave him this ability to do that chameleon stuff and change his looks?
No, that's kind of one of the cool things about a lot of the villains in Cobra is they leave it ambiguous. Like Cobra Commander and Zartan, they pretty much leave their. Cobra Commander does have like a history of like he's lost family, but he was a used car salesman, got tired of how things are done, and decides to kind of start up his own. I won't say
terrorist organization.
Yeah, there you go. In a nutshell, yes, that, and it exists in Springfield, Ohio, is like this community that passes as, a normal neighborhood, a normal town, and really, it's a major front for Cobra.
Yeah. By the way, you're about to see a character dying.
I noticed that. I was like, yeah, they knock him out, and then the lava just gonna go into the water. While he's in there, I'm like, well, damn, that's kind of cruel.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And there he goes, and
it's just one of those things that you just.
I'm just gonna assume that he made it out. Like, I'm not gonna.
I
guess my other question, though. Well, the other question I had is, since I didn't watch all of G.I. Joe, I just assumed that everybody was just human. There's no type of mutants or creatures or different things like that. People or is like Zartan an exception to where he can do that change like a chameleon?
No, and really he doesn't change his skin color. That's more of a toy gimmick. But really his expertise is espionage. Like he puts on disguises and masquerades as public officials and other characters to
so there's no creature people in G.I. Joe with either side.
Well, in the I believe it's the Pyramid of Darkness. They get crazy with these creatures at times. I forgot what they're called because I don't like it. But they're these
and then the movie,
yeah. And then even in the toy line in the 90s gets and people think 87 lost its rocker. No, the 90s, the 93, 94. They bring in monsters, aliens. You got a whole, they go into outer space. It really goes off the rocker there too. But for the most part, you've got nothing but humans. Even on Cobra's side, they may be a little bit more wilder. But
and wait for the credits here to pass because we got something cool coming up here at the very very end.
Damn
it! I mean, Joe, you're fine. You're fine. It's kind of probably be more for Tyler than anybody else, really.
I just remember like watching these end credits with me and my brother, and just like wonder what that episode is. Wonder what that episode is.
Here's what's coming up later, Tyler. In the block. Oh yeah.
Oh, Batman the Animated Series. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the proper Batman.
Oh God. What a time to stay up late at night and watch old cartoons.
Yeah, I know.
I tell you though, it really meant like being a teenager and in your early 20s and tracking any VHS copies and hoping to God maybe one day the stuff will show up on DVD. It meant everything when one volume of Batman the Animated Series had 5 episodes. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it's on DVD. You know,
I remember specifically one of the first couple times that Tyler came over to stay at my parents' house, and we would hang out. We would go rent videos, but I took him to one of the older stores in particular, and they had a big selection of the big box Transformers and G.I. Joe VHS tapes. So Tyler was renting those a lot.
They had He-Man, they had She-Ra, Fairy Tale Theater. I mean,
you bought a few of those from that store.
Yes. Some of those are over here in my collection. You know, they were selling like dirt cheap, like I think $5 or $10 a piece. Like it was just whatever you want, because they were trying to weed out inventory.
It was the thing of just DVD was just way more prevalent, and people weren't renting the VHS tapes anymore, so they were gradually trying to just phase those out and sell them off. And Tyler racked up. I probably should have grabbed some of those myself, but I was more interested in grabbing and I didn't even do it because someone else came in and bought like a big huge chunk of them, all the old wrestling tapes that they had that I would rent all the time, because that was the video store where that's primarily where I rented all the old shows from. So God, so many memories with that. But what a time, especially with Toonami during that time period, just playing those older cartoons. I remember when I first, because I didn't get Cartoon Network until around this time, maybe a year or so after, and I would stay up late to try to just check out. That's the first time I really watched any anime, because Cowboy Bebop was very prominent around that time too.
Oh, I remember, and Joe Deucin, I don't know if it was like this for you guys, but I remember the Sci-Fi Channel back in the mid to late 90s too would play Transformers Bionic 6.
Yeah.
And it was part of the regular lineup,
they cut all to insert more ads.
Well, but that's the thing at the time, watching those, I'm sure Tyler's like, oh, they cut stuff. He's just like, holy shit, it's Bionic 6.
So that's the thing. Because so much was so unavailable. So outside of watching He-Man and She-Ra a lot, I wouldn't have known if anything was missing. It was more about like, I got to watch Bionic 6 one time on the Sci-Fi Channel in 1997 because the beach we were staying at actually had the Sci-Fi Channel, and it was one time. I couldn't fucking believe it,
Well, because
with Bionic 6, you wouldn't really notice that something was missing, except maybe the potential explanation why nobody recognizes them when they power up. But with Transformers is a notorious case because they would cut a scene in the middle and connect it in the middle of another scene, and it's very noticeable when characters talk, because all of a sudden you have a mangled line.
Yeah, there was just something so exciting, because Tyler and I and Joe, it was probably the same way for you back then. I'm thinking more so probably early 90s into 2000s. Like, we had maybe 40 channels, maybe. And then when they would add new shit to it, you're like, oh my God, we're getting Sci-Fi Channel. We're getting Cartoon Network now. And there was something so exciting. It's like, oh, what's going to be on this channel? And you would have to go to the preview channel and wait for it to scroll up until it hit the channel so you could see. It's like, this is what's going to be playing the next 2 hours. And when we would get those, when that change would go through, I would pretty much spend that day just glued to the TV, just what's going to be playing, because it was all new and fresh to me. What a time. Oh.
Yeah, we actually stayed up all night. We stayed up all night when the Sci-Fi Channel was supposed to launch in our area. We were told, me and my brother stayed up till midnight because we thought that's when we'd wake up the next day and it would be playing. So we waited till midnight because the Swamp Thing TV series was going to be playing on there, Bionic 6 Transformers, and nothing. We got nothing. And it wasn't until like a few more days later it just happened to show up, and then I never did catch any of those shows that we thought were going to be on there. So
yeah, God. What was it like for you, Joe? Did you share the same excitement with that?
Well, for me, it was different. Didn't have like cable for a long time. So when I was growing up, I had channel 11, 13, 24, 30 was PBS. And then when 36 came out, when we got that, it's like, oh my God, these new things. What's Married with Children? And She-Ra was
Fox.
actually on that. And everything was like, oh my God, it was so cool.
She-Ra played
and
on the Fox channel for you?
For yes, in my area, that's how I got She-Ra. It was so damn cool. But then if I messed with my antenna on my little shit TV, I could get channel 20 out of Detroit. So I could imagine. But then eventually when getting cable, I understand that, like, anytime there was a new station, you did want to experience that. And with me, with like everything that you guys are talking about, unfortunately though, I was not watching cartoons at that time, and I didn't even know if like I said, if cable was around at the time when I had it, I don't know if I was too early, too late, but I was missing a lot of things. So I got to experience a lot of these new things, the things to me that would be new but are just normal to you guys.
Well, it felt like such a dark time though, when you feel like, and that's why it's so easy for people who get back into it now to take all this. I mean, to think, oh, this is no big deal, but to have never lost interest in any of these cartoons, these toys, these movies, and you go through the 90s and you're just, all you got is what you can rent, and that is it. And eventually, Rhino, I know Deucin, before you say it, but at least it was an access to watch G.I. Joe and Transformers, because there was nothing else available. And you're like, oh my God, like, it meant everything. And you think, why can't He-Man and She-Ra and Thundercats get this kind of treatment? And you just feel like there's not enough people on this planet who have enough interest to watch He-Man and She-Ra on DVD or on VHS again. You're the only one walking this planet. Like, you have the He-Man.org, and there's people who clearly like it, but the demand is just never going to be there. They're never going to re-release this stuff for people to watch on DVD or digital, or to be on the internet for people to watch. Like, you have to buy bootleg sets. You just don't feel like. And now anyone who decides to come back to the fold, I remember him. I'm going to get back into every episode's on YouTube and She-Ra.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, I can become a self-proclaimed fan. I'm going to start a YouTube channel and say,
and
this episode's gay, this episode sucks. And,
they watch Rhino DVDs of Transformers and G.I. Joe and go like, well, this show is pretty animated.
So your time period with this, Deucin, did you not share the same sentiment as Tyler did, even if these things are coming out, or were you always just like, this isn't complete? The animation. There had to have been at least some point in your life where you're like, holy shit, it's more for me to just consume, as opposed to this is left out, whatever.
Well, when I got to the internet, the first thing I was looking for was Transformers, and eventually I found that fans were uploading VHS rips of episodes. Like that, they were like DVX files of 60 megabytes.
Oh man, yeah, holy shit! Yeah, I haven't thought about that format forever.
There was one episode was like actually a Generation 2 version, and there was one from Sci-Fi Channel, but most of them are the original versions. So that was. I got to experience the proper version of all episodes right away. Well, and then I came across the DVD rips and was like, wait a minute, Heavy Metal War isn't supposed to look like that.
What time period are we working with here, year-wise?
2003.
Okay. See, you're way better at interneting than Tyler was in 2003, for sure. Absolutely, without a doubt.
I'm not going to dispute that.
So it seems.
But I could imagine if Tyler was and came across that shit, he probably would have been over the moon. Yeah. Which I'm kind of surprised, given that and how much you wanted to see those things. That I'm surprised that it just didn't sort of organically happen, where you just
you just don't know to look. And plus, I was more about finding out more about He-Man than anything else. Like, I'm going to He-Man.org every damn day, looking at stuff, looking at updates, looking at people posting pictures, people selling stuff. I remember contacting some guy in Brazil, and he was so generous and sent me a full load of She-Ra tapes, and none of them worked.
I
remember.
How much did you pay for those?
It was free.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe it's just one of those scam
No,
deals.
I didn't pay this guy. We talked. He knew I was a big fan. I didn't care if they were Brazilian transfers. Like I just wanted to see Snout Spout. I wanted to see the Rock Wars. I wanted to see all these characters I never got to see in the series that I know were in there, and not a single tape worked.
I was exactly the same way because late in the 90s, for some reason, in the morning hours, I could catch Romanian television in at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And at that time, they were playing cartoons. And I remember catching Generation 2 Transformers, Revenge of Bruticus specifically stuck out in my mind. And I had to literally, because they would do voiceovers with a single person for some very tough reason. So I would have to focus in on English audio, like to be able to understand fully what's going on in the episodes. Thankfully, it was audible enough. And they were also showing the real Ghostbusters, albeit the Slimer version.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like when I saw it, because since I was a little kid, I had the pinball machine for real Ghostbusters, and I didn't know there was a cartoon. So when I saw this, I was like, "There's a cartoon. The designs are the same."
You said a pinball machine of the real Ghostbusters?
Yeah, made in my country.
You know how they make those little tabletop?
Yeah, I got
Joe,
right here, but
yeah. It's the same manufacturer. We talked about that.
Shit.
The balls, Joe. The balls.
Yeah, you were talking
It's
about
the balls.
I want to look up the Ghostbuster one, though. I'm going to look that up. I didn't.
Yeah.
Well,
it's pretty much the same design, just different pictures.
So, Joe, after watching this, because you said yourself a little while back that you were kind of checking out the 24-hour stream that Hasbro was doing at G.I. Joe. Have you kind of been doing that every now and again, or is this something you want to kind of jump back into?
I mean, I could, like I said, I could get back into it because I haven't since then. And the thing is, the episodes I watched, my memory tension is terrible. But
That's
no,
fine.
I mean, I enjoy them. It's just, I don't want to hit like how you were saying, Dushin, and I think Tyler, you said there was one episode you didn't like in particular. I mean, would you recommend I still watch episodes like that just to see my impression, or no?
Well, see, no, honestly, I mean, there's still a whole lot of fun episodes. Season 2 has got the Arise Serpentor Arise. It's a 5-parter of like the creation of Serpentor. It's like kind of you actually see the villains lose the villains win multiple times because they, but season 2
also it's smoothly animated 5-parter.
It's very well done. A lot of good new characters are brought in. Sergeant Slaughter plays a very prominent role in season 2. You get characters like Beachhead and General Hawk,
Dr. Mindbender,
Serpent, which I hate. As a kid, I love Serpentor. I hate him now. But there's a lot of great
Dr.
visuals.
Mindbender a bald-headed guy or no?
Yeah, with the mustache.
Yes.
He's got.
He has a fantastic fashion sense.
Okay.
And some Joe fans don't like the character, like they think he doesn't fit. And I'm like, he's a mad scientist working for Cobra. What the fuck doesn't fit?
They're just intimidated by his physique.
Well, it could be, but there's, and I wish I could sit down. I mean, I like to consider myself a pretty intense G.I. Joe fan, but when I hear about the opinions and the mythology of how fans, it's the same thing in the He-Man mythology. Like I'm sure there's some stuff that were like, like people were all about, as me and Joe talk about, the only first four mini comics, and that's where it begins and ends, and there's nothing else that comes after that. And I'm like, I think that's fucking ludicrous.
They don't even know those 4 mini comics either.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they do not.
Same like with G.I. Joe fans, because all the time you'll hear them label the cartoon as a Sunbow cartoon when it's also by Marvel. It's Marvel Productions.
I made
Marvel.
this mistake, and Deuce couldn't wait to call me. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, you funny fan.
Wait, what happened, Tyler? What happened?
I was having a conversation with someone else about the G.I. Joe cartoon and referred to it as the Sunbow series, and it's Marvel Productions. But then Deucin popped in, corrected me, and I remember thinking like, I wasn't even talking to this guy. And this guy just shows up and starts correcting me, crossing my T's and dotting my I's, and like,
Yeah, I called him a nerd. Told him to shut up.
There's Dr. Mindbender, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
look at that
all right,
fantastic man.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. That's good design.
People tend to knock a lot of the concepts for GI Joe, and that's why I would love. And I talked to this right before you arrived, Joe. Is doing a tier list of like the card art for a lot of the characters.
That'd be cool. That'd be all new impressions for me. You'd be getting it right on the spot.
But that's cool because your perspective would be like, oh, this looks really cool. Like, okay, that's lame. And like, okay, why would it? And this is one of those things where it's like not even about arguing. It's more about, okay, why do you feel like this doesn't fit, or why do you think this works? You
Different
know,
tastes and perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many. You know, when people say when they got to 87, which I think was one of the best years. Same thing with He-Man. 87 is one of the best years in He-Man. I think it ended the line. You know, but G.I. Joe kept going strong, even though I think sales dropped a bit. But there were so many great things in that wave.
I see that kind of. I'm pretty sure we mentioned this before. I think that's just one of those things of the individuals collecting it when the line starts and being a certain age, and then as the line continues on, they're growing with it, getting older, and then probably just having that. Now, this is apples and oranges, of course, because when you look at the later waves of Master Universe and G.I. Joe, I think those are infinitely better than what would happen to Ninja Turtles when you and I were big into it, and how that toy line sort of. But there might be those kids that came into that line later on and really liked those later waves of figures. So I think it's more just the age discrepancy and going with a good chunk of the beginning of the line for a few years being a certain way. And then when things start to change and you're already older, that you're like, all right, that's
that's when I would say, I would argue that case in a court with fans about that, because at least with He-Man, the tone, and people say they felt like the 86 wave and 87 didn't necessarily fit. I would argue that, because I felt like what we got in 86 and 87 is just like the line was just getting better and better. You know, I felt like what we loved
we were getting more action gimmicks. We were getting a lot more details, unique sculpts. But I mean, for anybody to say, well, this character doesn't fit in, I was like, who are you to say that when this is Eternia? It's a world of fantasy. Everybody that's there fits in perfectly. So none of that makes any sense.
Like Sir Laser-Rot.
Well,
we're not talking about those assholes.
Not that shit. We ain't talking about that shit. But you know what I mean? It's like if anybody was to say, what the hell? I don't understand Rio Blast. He's a cowboy on Eternia. What's a ninja doing on Eternia? I was like, it's fantasy. And they're just, like I said, everybody has their place in that world. But
yes, the Inspector.
It's an elephant head, and he's shooting water. I don't understand it. It's like, okay, but a flying bee guy or anything else, that makes sense. Like, you guys do know this is fantasy, and you got to use your imagination. That's what's great about Eternia and Etheria. It's like, yes, every character is somebody new, somebody unique, and their name is either a description of what they look like or what they do. It's clever, it's wordplay, and it's a world of fantasy. It's like, how can you not embrace all that? Hook, line, and sinker, anything that came out. I still remember going to that store when I got $50 for my birthday, and I was like, oh my God, hey, there's King Randor. Wait a second, Scareglow. What are all these characters? Oh, and of course, then we had the Sorceress, but I was like, Clamp Champ. I was like, oh my God, there's all these. What the hell is going on? Like, my brain is malfunctioning out of excitement. At no point did I say, I don't want this ninja. I don't want this Scareglow guy. I don't want Clamp Champ. That never happened. I wanted every fucking thing I've seen. And
me too.
I'm kind of curious how Joe would have been collecting G.I. Joe around the time. If he kind of would have been in a similar vein as Simple Tricks and Nonsense. I was all in when it came to G.I. Joe between 82 and 86. Then in 87, it started to taper off for me. By 1990, I bought one figure out of dozens of characters released.
See, I've talked to John about this, and I that's why it's going to be fun to talk about this, is that, you know, they think characters like Big Boa, Crocmaster, Crystal Ball, Raptor, to name a few, are some of the more outlandish characters in Cobra, and I would argue that, and I've done it plenty of times, it's come and gone, we can do it again some other day, but there's still a lot of military-based characters in that wave. People didn't like the idea of the G.I. Joe Defiant, the big rocket ship. Like, yeah, I could see that.
Well, Tyler, I didn't collect G.I. Joe, but what you just mentioned, those characters you mentioned, what was different about them that they didn't like? Were they too fantasy-like, or what was different?
All right, Crocmaster, I'm like, okay, you think Cobra would not have an alligator crocodile wrangler in the swamps on Cobra Island to prevent people from
Oh,
sneaking
so he's
in?
a normal human. He was a normal
Yeah,
human.
he's a human.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Big Boa trains the Cobra Viper, so he comes with a helmet and boxing gloves, and his point is he's a trainer to get the Cobra Vipers in shape, like physically. You know, you got to learn how to fight and everything like that. So he's a very imposing looking character, kind of reminiscent of like those characters in the Beastmaster that had like the kind of the S&M outfits that were like the big spiked gauntlets on their hands. They were tearing stuff up, and they put those little leeches in their ears. Drawing blanks from everybody here. Never mind.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I'm just saying, like, he trains the Cobra Vipers. That's what Big Boa does. Crystal Ball is a hypnotist. He's like an interrogator, you know.
Okay, so none of the characters that you mentioned, none of them are hybrids of creature and humans. They're all
there's no creatures at all
what is it like with? I know John is not in here with us to discuss this, but why weren't people liking those characters you're talking about in particular?
Well, the movie plays a big part because they decided to make Cobra science fiction. Like they're a kind of a bug / snake race that live in the Himalaya mountains. When really Cobra starts off as a human who works with another human and creates the world's biggest terrorist organization. There's nothing to do with science fiction of a culture of these giant bug spaceships and everything's bugs. It was complete made up horseshit. So the 87 wave is kind of associated with that. You get characters like Chuckles, who was based off Don Johnson's character, who's an undercover agent. You have Lieutenant Falcon, who was the protagonist in the G.I. Joe, with characters like Jinx and Tunnel Rat, and you got the Techno Viper and all kinds of other cool things. And then 88 comes along. You still got characters like Hit and Run and Hardball, that carry on the same tropes you've seen in earlier waves, where like Bazooka, who is a bazooka specialist, but he wears a football jersey. So there's a kind of a slight sports thing. Hardball comes along. He has a grenade launcher, but he wears a baseball jersey and a baseball hat. So I don't feel like they jumped the shark at all. I felt like they introduced a lot of cool army builders with Cobra, like in 1990, like the Range Viper, the Saw Viper, the Rock Viper, the Laser Viper. Very cool army builders. As you get further into the 90s, they start getting neon crazy colors, and not just the characters, but the vehicles. And it just gets crazy. They have Star Brigade, Eco Warriors, all these other subsets.
Yeah, Tyler and I agree on that. The Eco Warriors thing. I was like, what is this horseshit?
It's everyone's about trying to save the planet, and like I got the message. I don't want it with my toys. I didn't want it with Turtles. I didn't want it with G.I. Joe. I didn't want it anywhere near my playtime. So, but
watch Captain Planet for that if you want.
Yeah,
just
exactly. Which I didn't mind it, but I was just like, I just want to see Captain Planet kick some ass. I don't care about the message you're trying to give me.
He's got AIDS. Get him out of there.
Well, hey, hit it to the chat now. If you guys want
I'll
use the restroom real quick.
Everybody talking.
There's an AIDS episode of Captain Planet, and there's a clip that's pretty much a meme where like one of the players, I don't know if he contracted AIDS, whatever, but the villains are in the audience. And they're like heckling him, like he's got AIDS, get him out of there. It's like it's more goofy than anything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, now for the chat. Right. If you guys do have questions for us for anything, shoot them in the chat right now. We'll get to it. What's that? John just said simple tricks. It's like when Mattel half my thing.
It's like when Mattel leaned on the play gimmicks and built entire characters around a gimmick. G.I. Joe started doing that and started steering away from the military.
What about you, Nathan? Do you have memories of all this with G.I. Joe? And
I mean, a lot of mine was kind of post 87 wave, so it would have been 88 going forward into the early 90s. Honestly, it's as Tyler said, it started getting a little bit, the packaging started getting brighter and everything. And I was into that with the ninja aspect of it. I was really into that, but after that, I kind of fell out of doing that. But I kind of just loved it all. Like going back and you're watching the cartoon, and then you're going to either a local pharmacy and seeing G.I. Joes at like $2-3, which is the beautiful thing about those is those figures were so cheap to buy new that it was easier to convince your parents to pick you up one anytime you were out. It wasn't reserved for like a special occasion. But I would get as many as I could. And granted, at the time that Tyler and I really started getting into it, most of those earlier waves you would have to just hope you came across at like a yard sale or a flea market, because most of the time it was getting the second version of that character being put out there that I would come across more often than not. So,
and I can imagine a lot of kids losing the weapons on those G.I. Joe figures.
Yeah. I was bad about that. Not intentionally, just they would come with so many pieces and accessories that were, you know, weapons and accessories.
If it's tiny, it's gone forever, especially in carpets.
Yeah. And it's just, that was common. And one thing too is you know, they would play both the Deke series and the Sunbow series.
Marvel.
I did that on purpose.
Liar.
When they would play them back in 89 in the early 90s, they would rotate. They would play the current animated show with like the current toys.
Yeah.
And they would also play the Marvel production show. So you're always like missing or wishing, like, I wish I had a Flint or a Cobra Commander with the mask, or how come I can't get Zartan or Xander, or why can't I get a Beachhead figure? Because they've been discontinued. So you're all, and you know the figures are out there, and I had to rely on people who didn't want them anymore.
Yep.
Or you just go to flea markets and sell it to find them. They were very hard to come by. And you have to wait for like Hasbro to like, we're re-releasing or releasing version 3 of Cobra Commander, version 3 of Destro, version 4 of Flint.
That's how it happened with like Cobra Commander and Destro. Those will come out, and I'm like, I need a Destro, I need a Cobra Commander, and that was the easiest way, unless you were going to wait until springtime and hope that someone was getting rid of theirs at a yard sale. There is a comment here, or a couple of them, and do some.
But I really would too. Like I love this conversation we're having, and I would truly love to get all the girls guys with all my heart, like to see what you guys have to say about the box art, what you think about this character. Are you interested? Because I just sit back and just let you guys talk.
We can do it.
You guys
We'll do that by wave, like we did with Master Universe. We'll make that.
I just think that'd be a blast to do that with you guys.
By the way, Tyler, I have a question for you. Did the toy ads at the time, did they make you wish for more Marvel episodes?
Oh, see, I was just thinking about this today, because when I got the Deke series on DVD, I had no idea it was as bad as it was, because as a kid, I didn't see a difference at all. And that's what I could not believe. Like, how the fuck did I miss this poor quality in the G.I. Joe show? I mean, it was night and day. I didn't notice it. I just saw that the characters in the Deke series were available on the toy racks. Like, oh, that's awesome. You know, I just saw a commercial for that toy, and it's in the episode right now. I did not get how fucking bad that Deke series was. Like, oh my God, it's atrocious.
I have not watched that since I was a kid, but I was in the same boat with you, Tyler, because they would play them back to back, and in my mind, I'm like, the
quality was all the same.
It didn't matter. Yeah. Would you?
Plus, Chris Latta was back as Cobra Commander. I thought the actor playing Destro was Arthur Burkhart, and it clearly is not. But I thought it was, because it sounded similar to me as a kid. Like, the guy's back. It's the same Destro voice. This is great, you know.
Yeah, but they did at least get some cast members from the original. Like for Baroness, they got the same actress. They got Chris Latta.
Yeah. I mean, but
Ed Gilbert also returned.
Well, it was more about too, because I didn't see Operation Dragonfly, which was the miniseries that started the Deke series. We just started seeing random episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones with anything with the Range Viper, the Night Creeper, the Laser. I was all about the Army Builders of the 1990 wave, because that was when I got probably the most Army Builders ever, because I was attracted to those characters so much. But like, I never saw any episode with the new versions of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Not one time, you know. I had no idea they even showed up in the cartoon, because in the rotation of episodes, we never saw them, and we did not. It was just something me and my brother did not miss on weekday mornings before school. We had to watch G.I. Joe, and they just never played anything with the Ninja Force, anything with Slice and Dice, anything with the Eco Warriors and the DEA episodes where they're fighting off drugs. None of that
But
stuff.
by the way, did you know that there's an alternate version of Dragonfire episodes?
No, I did not.
Initially, they aired a version that used the same music as the original show.
Oh, that's awesome! I like that.
And the strange part is that in one part, there's a cue from the Inhumanoids that shows up for some reason.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like, but unfortunately, later for reruns, they re-edited it with new music, so then it completely sucked.
Well,
I'm gonna put this on the screen. Deucin, what are we looking at here?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's the episode. That's the issue that shows Cobra Commander unmasked, but although he has the fake hair, he wears a hairpiece and a fake mustache, and fake glasses. This is where he meets that new character and starts rambling about him being a nut job.
Well, yeah, and this I believe is the issue too. And this is Raptor, which is probably one of the most loathed characters in the G.I. Joe fan community. I don't mind him, but I get why they hate him. He's a falconer. He controls falcons for the purpose of Cobra, like going and the new classified figure Raptor looks fucking awesome, as I know it would. But this is setting up for Fred 7, who's part of the Crimson Guards, is going to kill Cobra Commander and replace him. And the only reason that was done was because they were bringing in Serpentor, and Hasbro's like, we created the Cobra Emperor, and Larry Hama was like, we already have a Cobra leader. We don't need it. I was like, no, you need to work him into the story. And so they kill off Cobra Commander, and he's replaced with the 87 look, which is what you see here, by a Crimson Guard. In the anime series, you never see that. In the Deke series, he's wearing the 87 look, and it's clearly the classic Cobra Commander. But Cobra Commander
in the Deke series, it's even worse because when he is restored to his human appearance, he's still in mutated form. But when he puts that new outfit, all of a sudden he's human again. It's like,
human
wow.
skin, which I appreciate their continuity from the 87 movie, but then they throw continuity out the window when they, want to bring
when they go with the regular series.
Yeah. But
although there's some callbacks because when they bring back Duke, he's awakened from the coma. He's back.
Oh, yeah.
Then later, at first they have him in a similar looking design, but unfortunately not voiced by Michael Bell. Later they give him a new redesign, and it seemed like they also gave him a lobotomy because the character was a dumbass.
And Falcon's still his brother and is addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
And he's not voiced by Don Johnson, which is ironic. If he was,
he is voiced by Scott McNeil.
Yeah, it's not good. But we can get into more discussions about Cobra Commander's path in the comics. Which, if anyone, which I'm going to assume most people listening to this podcast have probably dabbled in the comic books, but the comic books are so serious. When people die, they stay dead. Other than Cobra Commander, which was done for like popular reasons and something that Larry Hama didn't want to do to begin with anyway. But at least there's a story that continues on with him, and he stays gone for a while. Like the imposter, Fred 7 of the Crimson Guard, is still like running Cobra as Cobra Commander and is fighting with Serpentor, and a civil war breaks out on Cobra Island. You got people siding with Cobra Commander, and only the Baroness is the only one aware that it's not really the real Cobra Commander. And it turns out that the rest of the Crimson Guards got Cobra Commander when he was shot, brought him back to health, and he comes back close to issue 100 and gathers up everybody that turned on him and drops a fucking volcano on them. And only a couple guys made it out in the series. I think Zartan makes it out on Firefly. Everyone else stays fucking dead. Dr. Mindbender, Raptor, anyone who was not siding with Cobra Commander, they stayed fucking dead.
Nice.
Yeah. And even when the Sol Viper comes along during the I think the Benzene War, and it's like in issues like 111, 110, somewhere in there, the Sol Viper takes a direct order from Cobra, or that's issued from Cobra Command. It's misinterpreted, and he kills multiple GI Joes, and they stay dead. But they were all characters that had been discontinued. They hadn't been in the toy line for a while. But actually, multiple people end up dying by Cobra Forces, and they stay dead. And you see these characters like Snake Eyes gets fucking pissed, because it's friends of his that get killed. Psych Out gets killed by a range viper trying to save a child, and in front of Dusty, and they're reminiscing about this Thanksgiving. I mean, there's so many good things because it shows. Larry Hama was like, I'm not going to tell kids that war is all fun and games. People fucking die.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that at least with the comic book, we're going to go through with this, and I don't care if you don't like it or not. This is what we're doing with the comic book, and they stayed dead.
I need to, because I got a good chunk, not a lot, but I have a decent chunk of the comic books from that era. I need to jump in.
There's so many are well illustrated. There's some bad ones, of course, but there's so many beautifully illustrated issues.
There's an issue or two that were drawn by Ross Heath, who designed character models for the animated series.
I'm not sure which ones he's done, but I mean, even the early issues are very well done.
I think it's the issue when Cobra Commander is captured and escapes the prison.
Oh, another. Okay, yeah, that's slightly earlier in the run. Yeah, and that's good artwork too. I like that artwork. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, because again, like it's the same artist that drew the character models.
Yeah,
and that's why all of a sudden the characters are far more on model than any other artist that worked on the comic.
Here are a couple of comments from earlier that I'd saved. This comes from Rebel Wookie. As a kid who grew up with the toys and the cartoon and not the comics, I loved Duke in the original miniseries and the toy. After that, I preferred Flint.
Yeah, Flint rocks, man. He's awesome.
Lord Sobek said, Baroness Destro, Zartan were my favorites, honestly. They look so much cooler than the Joes, except for maybe Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
Philippe asked this. Any chance you guys can do a watch-along 1981 Spider-Man Countdown to Doom episode?
Fucking love that episode. I had the VHS of that, man. I love that episode.
That'll probably be a spinner rack episode for sure.
Love to do that.
JSP, and this is when we were talking earlier about what time we came into the toy line kind of thing. Tyler pretty much exemplifies the difference between millennial G.I. Joe fans and Gen X G.I. Joe fans. And I get that, but as kids, that's how we were just because of what was available to us. But Tyler's vintage Joe collection, pretty extensive these days.
Yeah, I still wanted the stuff that wasn't available. Like I was really into. I wanted the Dreadnoks. I wanted Flint. I wanted a classic version 2 Snake Eyes. I wanted Storm Shadow as in his white outfit, like as a villain. I wanted all those, but unfortunately, they weren't available. They weren't in stores. Just because I liked the Ninja Force and a lot of the early 90s stuff. No, the stuff in the 80s was superior.
Yeah.
And I will always say that. And that's why I feel like I see both sides, but I still feel like how I view He-Man, and me and Joe talk about He-Man, there's room for all this stuff. I don't feel like there's some stuff. Obviously the latter part doesn't belong in the mythology, but I think the Ninja Force is fine. I think the DEA stuff is not bad, but everything from the very first wave of G.I. Joe all the way up to about 1990, I would say all that belongs. Some of the vehicles can be a little silly, but I think the characters, even the characters like Budo, who's a samurai, I'm like, I don't see any problem having a warrior who honors samurai traditions as part of the G.I. Joe team. Or Sci-Fi, who's a laser rifle specialist. Like, he's wearing bright green. People don't like the outfit, but I think it looks fucking cool, man. Like, I don't care.
And Sci-Fi was on the original series.
Yeah, he's in some episodes, but a lot of fans don't like the character because they think he's too outlandish. It's a lime green outfit, but I'm like, he's got a cool name with a laser rifle. Like, I don't,
It's like it's nothing that compares to neon colors of the 90s. So
exactly. That's when it gets fucking crazy and bad shit. Like characters like Lowlight, who's a sniper specialist, or Tunnel Rat, who goes through small tight spaces disarming bombs or trying to find ways in based on the specialist in the Vietnam War. There's Chuckles, is an undercover specialist. I think there's room for all this stuff. There's room for all kinds of outlandish characters like Dr. Mind and Crystal Ball. They're pretty much there to get answers out of the enemy they capture. There's room for both of those guys. There's room for lots of ninjas in both sides for not just Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes. There's other Jinx, who is a part of Storm Shadow's family. I think she's one of the best characters in the series, in my opinion. I think Lady J, La Scarlet, CoverGirl. There's lots of women, and they're taken seriously. The Baroness, Zarana, who is much like Zartan, she does a lot of undercover work. Does
and
a lot
Zorana
of spying.
almost appeared nude in the movie.
Yes, she did, and it came damn near close to that as well.
Yeah,
and she's got a good episode in season 2 where she goes undercover as a computer or kind of work with computers, trying to get some important files, and ends up falling for Mainframe, and he sexually harasses her in the episode. They don't shy away from it. But he apologizes for it, and because he's one of the few guys, she hangs out with the Dreadnoks, guys who eat chocolate donuts, drink grape soda, pick their nose. They're the most, disheveled, poor hygienic, they're crude and crass guys, And
what are you doing?
I guess
Show my eyes.
But it's a good episode because
we can't.
Why, Joe? Why?
You can see Joe's eyes. Oh no.
Oh yeah, we can see that you're disinterested and like, oh jeez, she did appear nude. Oh man.
But anyway, I'm just.
Hey,
I'm
were you annoyed when you saw the Dick's G.I. Joe that Zarana got to appear but not Zartan?
You mean in the comics? Oh,
No,
you
no,
mean the cartoon?
the sequel show.
I see. I never got to see her in the cartoon, and it wasn't until later that I saw that she would show up in the cartoon. So, because she was in the comic books prominently, like Zartan was kind of gone for a while, and Zarana was like one of the few Dreadnoks that was still hanging around, like her and like Road Pig. Like she was there as like one of Cobra Commander's go to people, and she looked good too. She had like long pink hair. It was a good design of the character. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, because the Raskit also worked on that show, and he would aim to keep the characters consistent.
Yeah,
with the original series, but unfortunately, Dick would hire very cheap Korean animators who would often drop the ball. So,
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of bad. Of course, at the time that was more about certain characters. If they show up, I'm good. But looking back at it, because I didn't have an appreciation for, I didn't like the version of General Hawk that was in the Deke series, like the one that we got in season 2.
Oh yeah, that episode when he was fanboying over that actor.
God, I can't remember which one you're talking about. Well, and it's 2 versions of General Hawk in the Deke series. You got the one with the rocket suit, and then you got the one with the kind of more.
The one when
ceremonial.
he had grenades on his suit. I think it was the rocket suit.
Yeah,
he
looked
he looked very dumb and acted very dumb.
It was shit.
Even though he was still voiced by Ed Gilbert, but you could just tell that the characterization is just down the toilet.
Joe, is this conversation down the toilet for you?
Here's a question from Papa Hood.
You know what's the worst part about Joe pulling his hood over the eyes? He's now bringing more attention to that yellow stain at the nose hole.
No, that's the color. The mask has different colors.
Papa Hood 69
No, it's a booger stain.
Has a question. Favorite cartoon voice actor from the 80s? Absolute favorite. Gun to your head, you got to pick just one.
James Earl Jones.
I like what it was a favorite voice actor, not cartoon actor, just favorite voice actor.
Oh man, I unstarted. I'm pretty sure it said a cartoon. Let's go with cartoon.
All right, well, because it's He-Man, John Irwin. That's the most important voice to me from my childhood. So, but Frank Welker is probably the most decorated, I think.
I would have to probably say Frank Welker just based off of the variety.
Yeah.
Alone. Joe, what about you? Fuck you, Jason. Joe can go.
No, I kind of don't know But go ahead, Dustin. I don't know.
I'm going with James Earl Jones purely because he sounds like a badass. Like he didn't get to work a lot of voice work, but when he did, he kicked ass. Like in Flight of the Dragons, if you ever saw that, he voices the main villain there, and he's awesome.
Which I can believe that. I mean, I wish he, because I don't think his role, his time as Thulsa Doom was nowhere near as appreciated as it should be. Even though it's nothing like the Thulsa Doom that's in the comic books. But I think that portrayal of that character and the head of a snake cult, I was like, God, he fucking owns that role.
Yeah.
And he's not celebrated hardly at all for that role, I think.
Yeah.
Or as much as he deserves.
Yeah. Maybe get more eyes on it. We'll leave this one last question because Joe's getting antsy, and it's getting late, and I got to go back to work tomorrow, and I don't want to stay up too late either. I'm sure Tyler's ready to go to bed. This comes from Sobek. It's like poetry said, it rhymes. Tyler's top 3 romance movies. Mine are Hal Hartley's Trust, Harold and Maude, and Something Wild.
I don't think I've got 3 romance movies.
He's only got one.
Oh, it's just because I don't.
Yeah, it's a genre that it's.
I'm trying. Okay, I think like Some Kind of Wonderful. It's more of a comedy, but it's a romance movie. I like that one a lot. If people would lump that in there as a romance film.
The Notebook.
Fuck that movie. I remember laughing out loud at the most inappropriate point, and the girl I was dating at the time, she got mad at me for it.
That's awesome.
I'd have to think about that one just because I barely even own any romance movies just because they're a genre I don't mind, but they're not. I don't really seek out to buy those movies like somewhere in time like I need to own this movie regardless of what Nathan and Dustin say. I'd have to get back to you on that one. I have to think. I guess I don't think I've got any in my collection on
The Bodyguard.
No, and I haven't seen that movie since VHS. But there are movies that have good romance storylines in an action movie or a drama, but they're not considered romance though.
I'm looking at Variety's best romantic movies of all time. Their top 50. Just scrolling through them, like Princess Bride. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. I love Princess Bride.
I'd put that up there.
Yeah.
How about Speed?
Even though Sandra Bullock's really hot in it, though. But she's even hotter in Demolition Man.
There's another one.
I'm looking at some of these like out of sight. I'm like, the Jennifer Lopez, George Clooney movies on this list.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Joe, I think that pretty much. I'll put this one up here, and then Joe, you can go ahead and wrap it up. If you guys checked out Bruce Timm's new animated series, Batman Cape Crusader, well, that's all the time we got this week.
If you guys are new to this channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell so you can always be notified when we go live. And Nathan?
Until next time, we'll see you in the future to talk about the past.
Eat it.
Did he just say eat it or beat it?
Eat it. I pull something out of my pocket and go, eat it.
That sounds like Eastwood.
Yeah, it is.
The way that you said it. It's just an Eastwood movie. Is this another Dirty Harry film?
Yeah.
Number 5.
JSP said Magnum Force.
Magnum Force, yeah.
He got that quick.
That's the second one?
The second one, yeah.
Okay.
What's
the third one?
Enforcer. The Enforcer.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 is Sudden Impact. 5 is the Deadpool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sudden Impact is with that RC car.
That's the Deadpool.
No, that's the 4th one.
All right, you know what?
Deadpool is with Jim Carrey.
He's in that one, but he's also with the RC car.
RC car is part 4.
I tell you, do yourself a favor and look at it real quick, just so we can embarrass you live.
Also, the romantic movie saying Princess Bride be up there for me. The Before trilogy, I actually like all 3 of those movies a lot. So
I don't know what that is.
It's the one with Ethan Hawke in it. You probably wouldn't like them, but those are very,
but you like them, huh?
Yeah, I like them. Those are good. How about Jerry Maguire? Huh? You complete me.
I like Jerry Maguire. That's a really good movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is annoying as fuck in it, but
it's pretty good.
It's a good movie.
Ghost. Ghost is all right.
Ghost is good. Yeah,
Ghost is good. Dirty Dancing.
No, I don't like Dirty Dancing.
The Subway The subway ghost traumatized me as a kid.
Is it because of his head?
Because of everything.
UHF is a romance movie. We'll put that on our
I'll
list.
put that up there.
Deucin, did you look up which Dirty Harry that was so you can embarrass yourself?
Part 4.
He didn't look at Part
Sunday
4.
Pact is part 4, and there's no RC car.
Well, what happens in part 4 then? Huh?
Part 4 is his girlfriend, who in real life plays a rape victim, and she goes after the guys that raped her, and he gets involved with that case.
Wasn't it part 5?
Part 5 is the RC car killer. Like the bombs are
No,
attached to
but
RC cars.
The revenge plot is part 5.
Look, you use the internet faster than anybody else. Would you just look up the damn thing and just admit you're wrong?
No, you are wrong.
He does not want to do this because he knows he'd be admitting it live on that while Joe's falling asleep. Over
Yeah, Joe fell asleep. We'll catch you guys next Sunday.